Welcome to Rom Wills, Money Matters. Keep it flowing as an artist looking to get paid. And what do I mean flowing? As an artist, you got to keep projects going. And when I say art, that's anything creative. So, yeah, of course, if you're a painter, you definitely got to keep paintings flowing just to make some money. But then, not just the painting, but you got to think in terms if you're a musician, you're a writer. Like, I'm a writer. And I'll use that as an example. Because I'm familiar with it. One of the things that I used to do even before I got on YouTube, which is another form of creation. That's an artist. If anybody's creating YouTube videos, that's art, even if they're talking about serious stuff, because you're creating anything creative. Now, in order to get paid, you got to keep it flowing. And what I mean flowing is you can't just live off of one project. See, that's the one thing about the artist. That's why they even have that term starving artist. A lot of times they're not making money. But then when they do make money, they might have that one piece of art, that one good book, that one good piece of music. Okay, and it might even get them some money. But how often have we heard that term, one hit wonder? They didn't keep it going. See, one of the things in the creative field, you got to keep the creation flowing in order to have products that someone is going to pay for. Now, as I said, my main thing is writing, believe it or not. And if I had my druthers, I would probably just write. And as I get older, that's probably all I'll do. I'll finally get around to writing. Well, I actually had one science fiction novella, speculative fiction, I should call it. But I still have to write a bit more, because the thing is, you're only good as your last project. See, the one thing with art, any type of art, from painting to sculptures to whatever, and music. Yeah, you can make money off of that one project, that one sculpture, but do you continuously make money? That's the thing. Now, one way you can, because I was going to say you have some people who put their art on shirts and sayings and stuff, which is still creativity. But even with that, you can't expect to live off the same thing for a long time. Now, you could have that one piece of art that still works for you. Like my book, Nice Guys and Players. It's been on the market. It's going to be going on definitely 22 years. I published it in September of 2000. So 22 years going on 23 years. And it still brings a lot, but not enough to live on. I had to add to that. So I actually have 9 books that are currently in publication. But you have to add to it. Like as a writer, you got to keep going. As a musician, you can't go on that one song, no matter how big it takes you, how much money it takes you. Because like that one hit wonder thing, because I remember there was a guy, this was way back in the day, and he had this song, and it was pretty good. He performed it at a club. Ain't heard from him since. You got to keep going with it. You got to keep going. You have to be consistent. And especially, you got to also keep over the times. Let me use that example of, someone putting art on a t-shirt. And it could sell a whole lot. People can go crazy over it. But then it always comes down to what you got next. Or even, let me use the example of YouTube. Okay, I'm on YouTube. People, anybody who's followed me, they know I've come a long way. They've come a long way. Just in so many ways, the equipment I use, everything. Even how I'm talking, just on this Money Matters channel, I started out just talking about giving different business ideas. But I had to keep going and evolve it to something else. Which is more, I still talk about businesses, but also I've been really getting into money management. You have to evolve, because after a while, people say, okay, what's next? I don't care who it is. That's why, in fact, using the YouTube example, that's why there have been several YouTube creators who, at one point, they hit a peak. everybody's talking about them, but then a few years later, nobody's talking about them. I could throw out some names, but the thing was, they didn't keep it flowing. They didn't evolve. See, that's another thing with art. You can't really just stay the same. You got to like keep moving with it. You got to keep moving. It's like, okay, you had that great piece of art. All right, now people's like, okay, now what else do you have? Because they get used to it. And see, if you go on, and the thing is, as an artist, you can make money out here. You can. It's tough, especially depending on what you're doing, because it's actually easier. I was telling somebody that it's actually easier now. Yeah, I was on a live stream the other week. I was telling a writer about that. It's actually easier, because you have several platforms, art platforms, music platforms, even writing platforms. You can get your stuff out. And, of course, you have to work to really make some money off it, to have some product that people want. But then you have to keep going. You have to keep going. That's the thing with the artist. And just real quick, it's really a whole lifestyle, because most artists, they still have to work a regular job, but their art is their main thing. They still have to work a day job. No shame in that. But it's one of those things. It's a great reward when you make it, but you really have to work. There's no shame in that. It just is. But even when you make it, you still have to keep going. You still have to keep going. And that's the most. I'm gonna tell you what. That's a very interesting thing. That's a very thing. See, it's not like a regular job. See, I'm going to tell you what, people can be on a job for 30 years. I have friends who've been on jobs a long time, both retail, government, and they doing basically the same thing they were doing like 30 years ago. It's no joke. And there's no shame in it or anything, but it's different from the artists. The artists really can't even do the same thing they did 30 years ago. Even if they're successful, they have to constantly evolve, reinvent themselves, add something new. Because that's the only thing with art. People could be a big fan, but then if you're doing the same thing in 5 years, they just like, So that's the thing. That's the thing. So as an artist in anything creative, you got to keep it flowing. You got to keep those juices flowing. You wrote that great novel. Hey, great. They might study it in the history books 100 years from now. What are you going to do next? In fact, thinking about that, there's plenty of people who've had that one great novel, but then you didn't hear anything else from them. And that's cool. They had the fame, but if you're really talking about really making it, because we're talking steady money, you got to keep it flowing. You got to keep those juices flowing, all right? So anyway, that's it for this one. As always, let's go make that money.